You're listening to The Art of Business with Jake Lee and Brian Aersel.
And we're back with The Art of Business.
Say it again, I coughed.
See, we're not that professional. And we're back with The Art of Business. I'm Jake Lee.
Brian Aersel.
And today we have the next episode, which is usually an interview with an artist.
Yeah.
And so this is our second or third, kind of, because Katrina and Epion
Right. Doubled down.
doubled down, thank God.
Because they talked for so long.
They did. And we have a good friend of mine, a painter, a general manager of an art store, and also a president of a nonprofit called Primary Colors, Brian Shorts. Hey, Brian.
Hey, how are you guys?
Not bad. So how are you today?
I'm fantastic.
You're fantastic.
I can't complain.
A little, this is the first time doing a podcast?
Doing a podcast, yeah, not the first interview I've ever had, but yeah, definitely first podcast.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit different, more relaxed, hopefully.
Yeah, I feel like if I say something stupid, you guys can fix that later.
Yeah.
So.
There's beer.
Yeah.
There's beer, there's a dark, dingy basement, there's coffee, beer, yeah, friends.
Yeah.
So I'll start off as I always probably do.
You do, because I skim the show notes.
You should skim the fucking show notes.
Also, you can cuss if you need to.
Yeah. We're I call him a fucking asshole all the time.
Because I am.
Yeah. So
With a heart of gold.
I'm kind of gonna go like in a nice little intro. Like I met Brian probably a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah, probably a year and a half
Year
when
and a
you
half.
moved into the Murphy building.
When I moved downstairs.
Oh yeah, when you moved into the space that we were sharing, you moved from downstairs,
Yeah.
upstairs to downstairs.
Yeah, I was in the hole, and then I moved into a bigger hole.
That was inside of a bigger hole.
But I will say my first impressions was this guy was super cool, because I have to say a little secret story, and I told you this a long time ago, and we might have had a few beers in, was the first time I moved into the Murphy, I had a submission package I dropped off into the door. You remember this?
Yeah, I remember this, yeah.
I had a submission package, and I never heard anything, and I just kept saying, fuck Primary Colors. Man, those guys are mean. They don't even say, like, no thanks, dude. Like, and then, like, I moved down, and, like, I'm like, oh, man, I hope these guys are cool. And then the first person that comes up and introduces me while moving is Brian Short. And he was just like, hey, I'm really excited to have you here. Let's do some awesome stuff. I was next door doing the shows at the Do 317 Lounge. Since then, it's been a good friendship.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
I mean, not only were you not only a good friend, but you guys did some great stuff.
Yeah.
For that year that I was down there, those shows were freaking amazing. And you guys did some programs that we'll down the road talk about.
Yeah.
Art versus Art, Installation Nation. Some of the shows that we both used to come and see.
Yeah.
But let's start from the beginning. So you were just an artist at first.
Yeah.
So when did you start painting and developing your style?
Well, I think as a kid, I always enjoyed making art. I'd almost rather be inside with a marker, a pen, a pencil, and some paper than outside playing. Not that I didn't like to play outside, but I was definitely drawn to doing that. There's definitely stories. My mom's like, well, your teacher always said you were a little different, and I was always very interested in, I guess, even at a young age, materials, because as a preschooler, I'm in the classroom, I'm drawing scribbles on a piece of paper. My teacher comes up and says, Brian, why are you doing that? And I said, oh, look, I hold up the paper. I said, there's a rocket on the other side. And I said, look, when you hold up the light, it blows up. And that's what the scribbles are for. But she told this story to my mom, and there was a few others, like, sometimes I just have to remember Brian's special. And special in a way like, I'm going to do what I want with the stuff I have at my disposal, and I continue to do that.
Oh, I thought it was more like you wanted to blow shit up. And
Well, this was like a weird Challenger thing that was kind of floating in.
Well, I've probably been in the right age, so that's probably, it's very, very possible.
Yeah.
But the 80s, right? So,
Yeah.
that's probably right.
Yeah, he's like the Toy Story Sid.
Yeah.
Green soldiers.
Yeah.
I cannot confirm
I
or
used to do
deny.
that. I used to do that with my action figures.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a figure and his hand went missing, and I had a fake chainsaw, and I grafted a chainsaw to his hand, made like an ash kind of thing.
You did Evil Dead.
Yeah. And it was pretty awesome. But I'd never even seen Evil Dead at that point.
I remember as a kid taking apart G.I. Joe guys and putting different legs with different tops.
Yeah.
And like as soon as I
Those
found that,
little rubber bands.
yeah, that little rubber band and how they hook it up, I was
Yeah.
like, the possibilities are
It's a
unlimited.
whole new game.
Yes.
The war is on.
I used to have so many GI Joes, and the rubber band would get old and deteriorate and break.
Yeah.
And you guys had so many possibilities. I'd be like, no, he's done. He's retired. I was so upset.
You just needed to get braces to
Yeah,
get
you
those
had to
rubber
have
bands.
bracelets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I seriously still think I have a box of like disassembled, broken in half GI Joes with the rubber band.
Oh, I totally do. I have a box of toys that I would paint eventually. But,
Did that lead into the toys shows that you were doing at Primary? Did you have like a fascination with toys? Just
you know what? Toys has been one of the longest running Primary Colors shows that I can think of because when I moved to town, I think in 2004, I had shown in Toys
Oh, okay.
because the guys from PC had approached me. And
gotcha.
it's always been a Toys themed show. It was, I think, I don't want to take too much credit, but I think it was one of those early themed shows in Indianapolis
Yeah.
where we've been doing it. I don't know if we've done it as well. It's been in a lot of different galleries. It's been in 924 before they had Tiny. It's been, at the Harrison Center. It's been at the Murphy. It's traveled around, and it's always a fun show.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of great
my
artists.
favorite.
Yeah,
And
same.
it's great to see people's interpretations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I love. Because I remember when you did the Toys Star Wars I was part of, and seeing the different interpretations of
Oh, that was
what
awesome.
people took, it was just like, this is awesome. That was fantastic. So going back to blowing up spaceships and broken toys.
Yeah.
No, it's all right. Broken toys and stuff. So where did that lead you? Like you were special.
I was special. I like I said, and I think this is something that I kind of learned at a later age, maybe when I got this art school. It's okay if you're better communicating visually than with your words and with what you write down. And I think what for me at that point, it kind of gave me, I felt free at that point. Like, okay, it is okay to better communicate visually. I'm just better at that. After college and running a business, it kind of taught me, well, now you have to be like normal people and be able to communicate.
No.
Well, with customers, yes. but it's one of those things where it totally, it made it all right I was more comfortable doing that. And once I kind of found my stride there, I think in the rest of my life I kind of figured, well, there's nothing to really be afraid about. I mean, you can talk to people, they can take it or leave it. I think that comes with crits too, with critiques of your artwork. You can take or leave it. You got to keep an open mind. But I've definitely had critiques from people that are like, oh, this is terrible, blah, 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 blah. Halfway through, like, oh, wow, I didn't see that. And it's like, okay, you can take or leave it. There's always a nugget of truth somewhere in there.
Yeah. Most definitely.
But yeah, I think growing up, I always loved making art. I don't think that I'm special in the way that I was making art as a kid. But, in my teenage years and in high school, I found myself on the wrong side of trouble and wrong side of mental health, if you will.
Okay.
And
You're in a like group here.
Yeah.
and I had struggle with alcohol before age 17. So there was a lot of stuff going on in my life, and I was still making work, and I was passionate about it, but with the social requirements, you've got to be cool, you got to talk to the pretty girl, whatever. But once I so I found myself in trouble. I wind up in rehab. I ended up having to move out of home for a while. With rehab, ended up getting out, and that was probably when one of the most influential things for me happened. My art teacher at the time, Ben Thomas, great guy, still talk to him. He reached out and said, hey, I really like what you're doing with your project in this class. I really want you to finish it. I want you to enter it into Scholastic Art Awards. Said that alone, and to me, that was a big deal because he was saying, hey, look, you're good. But you're not going to get better if you stop trying. So here's something to focus on. So I took all that negative energy, right? And I put it completely into making art. Probably my end of my junior year, my entire senior year. I don't know. I've made art one more time as much as I did then. But I remember making the work and just loving it, right? Like after my junior year, I sat down with that teacher and said, hey, I want to go to art school. And he said, okay, well, what I like to do is look at the back of the catalogs and see where all the instructors that have art that you like, where they went.
That's smart.
Yeah.
So you can cherry pick a little.
Yeah.
Oh, well, did this person that's teaching there, did he go there? Well, a lot of times it is, yeah. And other times it's not. And then you can kind of say, okay, well, so he kind of turned me on to figure that out. And then he allowed me to work with him. I wrote my own curriculum to basically be in the art room 9 periods out of 11 periods of the day. I'd met all my curriculum requirements. You don't need a second science. You don't need a second social studies.
Dang.
Just cut out the fat.
I found out all the loopholes.
Yeah.
They made me take English like 4 times. They said I still don't know it. It's true. I
That
still
is
don't.
true.
But I mean, it was an opportunity. I was the kid that they were, we need someone to paint an eagle inside the gymnasium. And I'm like, okay, give me a parking pass. Oh, no, we can't do that. I can't paint that eagle. I'm sorry.
Full back scratching.
Yeah, right.
Scratch
Hey.
mine will scratch yours.
I don't think anyone as artists should be asked to do artwork for free. Or there should be give and take.
Agree.
Especially with a non-for-profit, that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Don't give your artwork away. It has value. If you don't assign value, then why would other people?
Boom. This episode,
Yeah.
I can see good things coming.
Yeah.
I can see a little tear coming out of my eye soon.
I think Epion really dropped the fucking ball. I think that's what.
The interviews are just gonna get better and better and
Well, yeah.
better. You're basically creating a whole your last year's entire
Yeah.
art. It's just straight. Almost every class is art.
Yeah, and I had a key to the, probably not supposed to say this, but I had a key to the art room.
Nice.
So I was in there. I mean, I wouldn't even eat lunch in the lunchroom anymore. I would eat lunch in the art room and start working on my artwork.
Dude, you were the biggest art nerd I've ever.
Oh, totally was. But I look at it back then it was like, well, I had quit drinking, and which is crazy to say at age 17 that you have to stop drinking. But I definitely at that point in time like threw myself into it, and I was like, I'm going to art school, and there's nothing that's going to stop me. So I remember doing portfolio days. Did you guys ever do those where you go to other schools and they have all the other schools there visiting?
Oh yeah.
I did 2 in Cleveland and Cincinnati, and it was a reality check, because when you go there and you think you're the top shit,
Yeah.
and then you're looking around and you're seeing people's portfolios, and then you got like a reality smack to the face that you're not top shit. It was a big like, I got to get my game up.
You're like, I'm top shit. over
Well,
here.
but that's why. But I think that's why you do it 2 times, though. You do it more than once.
Yeah.
Because I went and they're like, you don't have any figurative stuff. Well, I went to a school where it stopped at painting 2.
Yeah.
Right. So like there wasn't anything after that to do, and that was why I made my own curriculum. But I went to school with people in college where they were in AP art. And
That's why I wasn't.
okay, and see now that we had one art teacher in my school, small little podunk place, maybe 150 in my graduating class.
Oh, wow.
That's probably it's less than that. But
Wow.
it was called South Park, so we can laugh about that later.
I wanted to make so many jokes about it.
Yeah.
I was chef.
It's great.
Terrible. Don't eat in the lunchroom.
Doing the lunchroom. Special meat.
But I think what and I kind of saw what you're saying. Like you go to those things and you see other people showing stuff, and it's like, wow. The difference is for them, it was an assignment. For me, I had to do this if I wanted to get into art school. So I started doing a whole lot more figure studies. I'd find a place where I could go and draw the figure and do gestural drawings, and it was so much I owned it, right? Like as opposed to
was a
another day of
challenge.
class, I show up, oh, we've got a model today.
You it seems like you created, like you literally was like, I need to do this to get here, where everyone else is like being told what to do to get there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, and for me, at the same time, throwing myself into this helped me deal with, the alcohol and bad behavior. It just totally refocused my life. And at that point, then you start meeting other people that are like you. Because,
We had the same trajectory. You and I. That's why I started doing it. Was just to stay busy.
Yeah.
So I don't think about it.
Idle hands are the devil's playground,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Brian over here, other Brian.
Yes.
I mean, and he's talked about this in earlier episodes. Was that
Yeah, I just hit 6 years.
6 years sober?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So he and going back, listen to episode.
Didn't go
one.
to art school though. I
Yeah.
just was like, I like stencils.
Which is an art form in and of itself,
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
just keeping busy. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like it's so therapeutic.
Well, and I think as artists, we all have there's a couple books out there like Touched by Fire, which is about mental illness and artistic personality. And she wrote another book, and I can't remember it right now. But I think that also made me feel better to have these struggles because I was trying to communicate visually and everybody else wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, we weren't, it's not like art school where everybody does that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I finally found my freaks and weirdos.
Yeah.
Thank goodness, you know?
You felt at home.
Yeah.
You felt at place because and you could see people who might not be in the same aesthetic that your lifestyle is, but you're like, wow, you like art too? That's cool, man. Like, and
Yeah.
you're good. That's awesome. And you just feel
Well,
there was-
having such a small graduating class too. There weren't a lot of
isolation.
No,
Creatives,
there wasn't.
yeah.
There was like the one person in each grade level that was the artist of that,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, that's how it was. So, but yeah, so anyway, so back to what I was saying, it gave me a release, it saved my life, I threw myself completely into it.
A lot of discipline.
Yeah. Not necessarily in a completely healthy way all the time.
Yeah, well, I think we all still do that.
yeah.
But I mean, like, I have to tell my girlfriend, like, when I'm working on something, don't come downstairs. And don't point out to me what you think might be wrong, because I might kill you. I mean, like,
It's like The Shining.
yes, I'm
Down here, I'm working.
I'm completely aware that matte finish totally failed. Don't say another word. Because I'm kicking myself 10 times harder than anything that you're going to say.
And you just put the cherry on top.
Yeah. So yes.
Oh yes. that to anyone that ever listens, any artist, they know that feeling. Like in the process of it, and you know what's wrong, and someone points it out during that process, and not the. It's just like, okay, you can leave. Never come back. Never speak with me. Don't come back. Leave. Give me the key. Get out.
See, now I would also say this, and this was advice from like my mentor in college, and he said, whatever you do, don't date another artist. And I'll tell you what, that's a really good rule.
Yeah.
Because two crazies don't make it right. No, we're all crazy, but we think differently. We, like I said, we communicate visually. Like, you're going to butt heads because ultimately you're competing with each other. You're both competing for space in galleries. Whose is better? Then when one's way better than the other one feels worse and maybe stops making work. Like,
Wow,
That's very interesting.
that makes a lot of sense right now because every girlfriend I had in art school.
well, of course.
Totally.
Well, just that the previous interview was Evian and Katrina, and they are both artists.
They are.
But they're in separate mediums.
And that's
So
the thing.
charcoal and spray paint.
Right. So they're not necessarily competing.
No.
I feel like they kind of do though. I do because
After each show, they're like, he made more.
yeah,
Or she made
no, because he said that he was like, yeah, Katrina sells more prints all the time,
Yeah.
and so it's just that compete. But there's that mental state or that stop where it's like, to them they're not They're not really. They are competing in a way of like what might sell or whatnot. But at the same time, it's like everything we do is for us. It's
Yeah,
not
it all
individual.
goes into the
Right.
same
It all goes
pot.
into the same pile of money.
Yeah,
and-
same pot, same
Which is, but if you're not that serious in a relationship, then I think it makes it harder. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I dated anybody much longer than like 3 months while I was in art school because we just couldn't handle each other. We were too nuts.
Same thing.
You know?
Doing
Like,
that right now, and I'm not in art school.
and I'm not saying people can't make it work. I'm just simply saying I think that was the other thing, and the other thing my professor said was, if my child asked me if they could go to art school, I would say no. And I was like,
I agree.
as a father, I would say no too.
Yeah.
Why don't you go be an engineer? You make stuff there too. Just be creative with like valves for the heart or something like that, and then you can do your artwork on the side.
Right.
Like
It's so expensive these days. It's so expensive.
it totally is.
I would tell anybody, like if it was a kid of mine, who if they exist or not, that hey, take that money that you're gonna go and spend it in college and get a studio and get the equipment and just learn it there. Because I think
Maybe take some classes. Some independent classes.
yeah, learn the best practices. Here, YouTube, Jesus. I mean, every YouTube video, freaking now you can learn anything on YouTube.
There's no point for art books anymore.
No.
As somebody who sells them, there is no. I mean, I don't. I mean, why? You can go on YouTube and find the most specific
It's
Yeah.
visual.
use
What we need.
right? Which is how we communicate and we understand.
Yeah.
I mean, the
can't
only
read
thing better for
words.
artists, I think, is the tactile. Like we can
Yeah.
touch it.
Yeah.
And like, if somebody's showing me something, I don't want them to do it for me, but show me once and then let me try,
We've talked about that
Yeah.
multiple times.
just to have the
How
hands-on.
are sales on art instructional books?
Terrible. I mean, seriously, even at Christmas time, you don't
Yeah.
sell. I mean, we used to bank on what we sold in Christmas on like art books at Christmas time, and now we hardly sell any. But then again, when someone comes to me and says, "Well, my kid really likes manga," okay, we'll type manga drawing into YouTube and let them go.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because then you have different perspectives as opposed to
One.
one whole book of one person's perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got so much. Any kind of medium. I mean, like again, going back, like take that money, get a studio, get that equipment, learn how to do it right, and just start making. Because I think for me was like when I was in college, anything like what I did in college and now what I do now, nothing, completely at 180.
Yeah.
I mean, I helped it built up there. I illustrate in college, I illustrate now, but now I'm actually doing it on a surface and not just digitally.
I think it's kind of like art school for me. It seemed like it was art boot camp, right? Like you're going to try your first year. You're going to try everything,
Foundation.
everything. You know, the whole first year, and you do, and you try it, and you find what you like most. Like I always wanted to take a photography class, but then I was enjoying painting so much. Why would I stop doing more painting classes? To go back as a senior and learn photography, like I probably should have done that my junior year or my sophomore year. But yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do, and I kind of agree. Like that first year, parts of me hated it. Parts of me hated it because I can build this thing out of that, and I can. But looking back on it, it's probably one of my favorite years, though, because I was doing so many different things.
It's all new.
Right, it was all new, and I think as a young artist going into art school, you're just hungry.
Yeah.
You're hungry. You just want to, I want to learn this, I want to learn this. I'll go watch people pour glass. I'll go watch people do, pours. I'll watch people, how do you make your own clay? Like, I want to learn it all.
And it was the only institute where it had all the resources to make it happen.
Right. Oh, for sure.
Because, like, as a silkscreen artist today, I didn't see any studio with silkscreen, but I saw it when I was in art school.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
People working on large format canvases and painting and sculpting. There was a sculpting center where I went. It, like, your mind was blown.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, wow, there's all this material and resources. Now, I probably didn't spend the best time going there. But looking back at it, there was, that first year of like learning all the foundations, I loved.
Oh,
I
yeah.
really enjoyed.
Pouring plaster and stuff that I still have parts of pieces from them.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy it. I'm like, oh, that was a cool idea. And I think it's what kind of, for me, when I got into like senior thesis and you can do what you want, why it was easier for me to branch out and do like installation type work or sculptural type work and stuff like that. But if I wouldn't have been exposed to it, I probably wouldn't have been as comfortable,
So let's go back. Like, you didn't really actually describe where you went. Where'd you go?
So I went to the Maryland Institute College of Art,
It's called MICA.
but I believe now it's just Maryland College of Art. I believe they've took the I for institute out.
Really?
So,
Yeah. I'll say I think I went to SCAD.
Uh-huh.
And MICA and SCAD to this day are still rivals.
Oh yeah. Oh
In,
yeah.
like recruiting.
I think when I started they were number 3.
It's RISD, MICA, SCAD.
Yeah. I think they were number 3, and then when I graduated in 2000 they were number 1. But what's funny, and this is going to completely no. This is going to completely date me. But when I started art school, there was one computer lab. One.
Really?
This is 96.
Yeah.
right? So it's not that there weren't computer labs, but not everybody had gone all in, because Micah has always been a painting school. If you're a painter, you get the best treatment by, well, maybe not anymore. But when I was going, it was painting program. You know, their painting program was fantastic. I think it's one of those schools where they have so many buildings. It's in the heart of downtown Baltimore. As a kid that grew up in the suburbs, it was a really rude awakening to be smack dab in the middle of the city. I still, to this day, am the only one that I went to school with that I know that didn't get mugged. Everybody else got mugged. Now, when I walked home, I had a 4-foot-long steel T-square and a utility knife that I used as a microphone, and I talked to myself the entire time. So I believe that's why I didn't get mugged. Acting crazy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so Micah was one of those places where, you know, I almost think in ways it's unfair for us to have that experience, because you're so just engulfed with the art. Even at lunch, you're talking about art in the lunchroom. All day long, it's art, art, art. And it's not a realistic model for life post-college, right?
No.
But I think you need that at the time to totally...
Oversense.
Yeah, to realize that there's other people more like you, you know? So Micah was great. It afforded me a lot of opportunities I wouldn't have gotten if I didn't go to that school. I had my work critiqued by Petticoin, the sculpture artist. I've had it critiqued by David Hickey, the writer of the art criticism book Air Guitar and Invisible Dragon, Lisa Phillips from the Museum of Modern Art, and David Byrne from Talking Heads.
Oh, nice.
This at this point was when I was doing the body work that I similarly do now with the text work and stuff. And it's been interesting to me because every person that critiqued my work, their response was so completely different.
What were some?
Lisa Phillips from the Museum of Modern Art, this is right on the heels of them doing an exhibition about female beauty, and like they had brought in female bodybuilders and did a whole piece on that, and almost the baroqueness and how like over the top that is, but the beauty that is, you know, associated with it. She asked me if I was romantic, and I looked at her and I said, well, I'm not sure I know what you mean. You mean like, do I bring my girlfriend flowers, or like what? You know, you're just a romantic. Well, I'm not sure I understand. And I don't know that she ever really explained it to me. I assume that she means like me looking back at like Jasper Johns and his use of stencil text, and like, are you, you know, do you put that up on the pedestal?
Yeah.
And to some degree I do, especially with his use of colors. Like, this is red, but it's yellow. You know, it's the color. I love that stuff. So Lisa Phillips said that. David Hickey was just a jerk. I felt like he was like a shock artist. Like, he came in and asked the straight edge girl, you need to do more drugs. And I'm like, really? I mean, it's clear based on her work that she's straight edge. Like, do you really need to say that? Like,
Yeah. I'm keeping that in, Hickey. You
Yeah.
shit.
What are you trying to provoke? You know, like, this is their aesthetic. This is their personality on the canvas. Like, what?
Well, and we were juniors when he did the critiques, I think, and it was just strange, you know. But my favorite one is definitely David Byrne. What a strange dude. Great
Still
guy.
continually strange.
I mean, forever
Yeah.
strange.
He's directing Color Guard now in New York.
I believe it.
That's weird.
What else is he gonna do?
Yeah.
He looked at my work and said, "You're either before your time or after your time. I'm not sure which one it is, but I think you're a conceptual stoner." To this day, I'm not sure I know what that means. He's like, well, you just like to get in there and understand it. And I'm like, by painting letters? But when, you know, David Byrne's critiquing your work, you're more like, oh.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't,
You're like
I don't know
super-
what it means, but I think I'll
You're
love
like
it.
super excited, and then when you leave like the classroom, you're like, what the fuck did he just say?
I don't even know if it was a bad critique or a good critique. I don't know. I don't even know if he would put a painting of mine in his, you know, like, what was his reaction? I don't think I got it.
Do you like it?
But you can't say that, because then you look stupid. You know what I mean? Like, you want to, you know, it's tough.
It is.
So, like, who were your, like, influences?
Jasper Johns is huge.
Yeah.
So a lot of text-based work, like Jenny Holzer, Christopher Wool, anybody using text, I just
Dude,
gobbled up.
Rocher?
Oh, Ruscha, or Ruscha.
Yeah.
I think it's, I don't know how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Took too much art history, but I don't remember. But yes, like the signs and the billboards, and some of his more later work I like more than his earlier stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's much more, it seems much more color field, where it's just a background and like the bottom corner is the billboard or something.
Usually people like the early work. I like their early CDs more compared to the new stuff, man.
Well,
Nah.
music I think is different. That's a whole other conversation.
You a big Wayne White fan?
I'm not.
No?
It doesn't strike it. I don't remember that name. I don't know. That's terrible.
Okay.
Have you seen his work? I'll pull it up.
Wayne White, he did the puppets for Pee Wee's Playhouse,
Okay.
and he does word paintings as well.
Okay.
Now, that are like
Anything
very humor.
with text, like I think one of my favorite pieces of text.
He's one of my favorite guys. Just a giant fan fucking tastic. Yeah.
He got me into him. I actually love his work. What does this one say? Smoking weed.
In a porta potty at the Civil War reenactment.
So he takes Goodwill paintings.
Okay, that's insane.
Yeah.
He doesn't do the back paint. He just
Yeah,
does
and
the
then
text.
No, but like the shadows are perfectly contoured to
Yeah.
just being out of place in the middle of the woods kind of thing.
It's fantastic.
I love it. Now I think my aesthetic, the background's driving me nuts
Yeah.
because A, I can't tell what color it is, and B,
Right.
like because I'm colorblind. But I look at that stuff and I'm kind of like, huh. I think there's a lot of Mark Rothko with the color field that I really enjoy,
Yeah.
and I really enjoy putting down that first layer, that base coat on the painting. Like,
See, for screen print and stencils, that first layer is nerve wracking.
Yeah, it's the final.
It's the final.
It's the
that's
final
best
where you finally upload your spunk.
It's done. We did it right.
Everyone just came.
Yeah.
but but then I also like artists like Saul LeWitt, where it's like he can hand you a package and that you can make a Saul LeWitt in your own museum. You just have to pay for the package, and then you get a bunch of art students to come in and do the parts of the painting, like because he's systematic. Like this is how you make his paintings. This has to be done first. This has to be done second. So there's a mixture of that concept because there's a process to my paintings that is very specific and ridiculous. But that's how all of my paintings start. But never, except for like maybe 3, end up doing the entire process to the end, because the trick when you're making work is to know when to stop. Because sometimes too much is clobbering you over the head.
I've gone way overboard.
But it took a long time to figure that out. It's not an easy thing to figure out. And I think that was like an early criticism of my work, because they didn't want to see the same painting over and over and over again, just in different colors. And certain colors worked better, obviously, because certain pigments are transparent. And of course I knew that because I'm ridiculous about art materials. But
That's next phase in the talk.
Yeah.
but I think Micah allowed me to do that. I know I shared with you guys earlier, but when I was a sophomore, I was home from school, and I felt like I was really struggling to find my voice, as we call it, right?
Yeah.
Man, I could draw the shit out of a self-portrait, or draw the shit out of a picture of my brother that he stabbed, or I could paint the living dates, sculpt this, sculpt that, but I didn't find anything that I'm like I couldn't live without doing this.
Or you wanted to do it all the time.
All the time, where I could be completely absorbed.
Yes.
So I guess the constant concept in all of my work post sophomore year is text. It's in everything after that. But before that, you struggle. And this is what I was getting at before. So I think it was my sophomore year. I was home for 7 days after school was out. Had all my stuff in the basement, brought home all my paintings, and we had a house fire. The whole house burns down. As the house is on fire, and they had to pull out the turpentine. They didn't want anything to explode, and they were able to get into the basement at that time. And I remember them pulling out paintings and drawings, and they were just like dripping water. And I'm just like, just leave them in there. It doesn't matter. Like, it was heartbreaking, but it also gave me a total freedom, because by losing all that stuff, I felt a sense of void. But I also lost any proof that I was bad when I was a freshman or a sophomore. You know, like, you weren't making masterpieces then, let's be honest. But it was freeing. It freed me up that way, but it also created this compulsion to create. To just, I don't think that year probably parallels the year of my senior year in high school where I made so much work because I had to replace what I had lost. I mean, I was working on 6 paintings at a time, like, and I was still going and doing my regular classes, and I was just trying to find classes that the paintings I was working on would work as homework, right? Like, like, I want to make this. I'm going to make this. I just need to find the right class to shove it off on. You know? And I did. And, you know, it's, you know, interesting. In making those, you know, being exposed to abstract, being exposed to silhouette, where it's like, if you follow the process, you will wind up with exactly what I want you to. But what I like about that is, even if you follow that process exactly, there's going to be differences. And that's the human factor of it, right? Like,
that's
it's the
individual.
touch. Yeah, it's like, well, so-and-so, Sally from 3rd Street painted this one, and it's heavier on the brushstroke, but she followed his rules, but that's what's unique to me. Like, for each time I lay that stencil down and I fill it in, it's different each time. And I would use less and less medium in the color so that it would get thicker or chunkier. And then the stencils, as you know, when you start using them, they shrink in, right?
Yeah.
But that's why the final ones are tinier letters but more opaque. So, but now I've got 5 different layers of letter forms, and it makes its own. That's what that class did for me. And I think that class also found my voice, allowed me to make things in the voice that I wanted, and I did it all while I was a junior in college.
Yeah, that to me, that's crazy, because I didn't find the aesthetic I enjoyed daily until years after college. I goofed off way too much in college.
I was sober, so
Right.
there. I mean, I was so hyper focused to the point where I don't think people necessarily like to speak to me. You know what I mean? Like, I had the people that, like, you know, in college, junior studios, you share it with 12 other people, right? And there was the people in there that I would talk to, but pretty much everybody else, I was just completely.
Tunnel.
But you're just focused on what you want to do.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So after you find your voice and you graduate, where'd you go?
I went back to Pittsburgh with dreams of being a rock and roll star. I was in
Time out, Jimi Hendrix. What? Okay, so you're painting letters. You're in art school, and then you're just like you're in your own little bubble, and then you're like, I don't want to be in a bubble. I want to be on a stage with thousands of people rocking out.
We'll start with like 30, and then we'll work our way up to 1,000. But
Sure.
but the idea, but we were in a band before I left for college. Right?
What's the instrument?
I played the bass.
Bass.
And would
Slap the
occasionally
bass.
scream as loud as I could.
Sure. Yeah.
But then I became super interested in lyrics. There's a couple paintings I've done with lyrics inside of them.
It's text.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
text.
you know what I mean? It was just words, and to me,
Such a romantic.
I'll bring you flowers. But it was just like, I just became engulfed. I wasn't just buying art books. I was buying English language books. I was trying to apply for an overseas thing, so I would have to learn to paint in French. Like, I was just there's a couple pieces I did because I got totally sucked into the periodic table, where I tried to spell things with actual periodic table
Yeah.
elements.
Yeah.
I wanted to do boom or something the concept of a word exploding. I just couldn't find the right chemical makeup to make it
Gotcha.
actually physically say boom, and actually if you put them together it would be boom too. You know?
Right.
Instead, he rocks out.
Instead, I chose to rock out.
Yeah.
So I came home, but home wasn't bad for me either, because when I moved back, I became an assistant manager at an art store. I also was showing in Pittsburgh while I was in college, and for like 3 or 4 years after I graduated from college, I was still showing work in Pittsburgh. You know, there's the Pittsburgh Three Rivers Art Festival. They're still doing it.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was a juried thing, and I had sculpture in there, I had paintings in there, I had whatever I could get them to put in there. And so I wasn't not making work, but the idea was to come home and do this other creative outlet. And I guess I would say, and I think maybe, you know, with art school, you can maybe agree with me, Jake. It's like, you got done doing art boot camp. The last thing you wanted to do in the first month you were home, at least for me, was to paint a painting.
No, I wanted to rule the world.
Yeah, he hit the ground running.
I'm still trying. I'm still got that, what is it, long shot dream or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you silkscreening then, though?
No.
Okay.
No, I was
Illustrating?
I was illustrating. I went to New York and tried to
Tried to do it.
do editorial illustration, and I fell flat on my face. But that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Someone needs to listen to episode 1.
it's okay. It's not easy to find right now. It's not on iTunes yet,
Well, it will be.
but it will be by the time this is out.
Yes.
There's just been, I think for me, I was comfortable because I knew I had venues in Pittsburgh that I could show work in.
yeah.
Two great cities, Baltimore and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I love those two places.
Baltimore was amazing.
Yeah.
We're going in 3 weeks.
Roughly 3 or 4, something like that. Yeah.
I mean,
Baltimore Comic Con.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Baltimore is a rough city when I was there. I think
Yeah.
they were number 1 in homicide while I was there.
Still pretty big on
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
They're real big fans of it over there. Yeah.
My favorite was I remember seeing the cop cars, and you every now and then see spray paint on the cop carts. Where I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to make it the city that breeds, but the original slogan is the city that reads. So all that they made it say was the city that breads. Which, as a text artist, I totally loved.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I remember things like that. But yeah, so I moved back to Pittsburgh. I remember I had a lady hire me to do a bunch of artwork for her hair salon. She was a high-end hair salon, stuff like that. So I was still doing okay for myself.
Yeah. You're still doing it.
Right, and I still had the other outlet with the music and lyrics.
I want to get to that. I really. First of all, what was the band's name? Like this little question.
The Lurps. The Lurps.
What,
Yeah.
what type of music?
Well, it would be 90s alternative because that would have
Okay.
been
Yeah.
right in
Right
2000. That would have been right then.
So compared to.
Talking like a grunge kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we also, I mean, okay, so we could play the entire Nirvana catalog and the entire Weezer catalog,
Okay.
Wow, that's a big jump, though.
but where you've got harmonizing on one side,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was me, my 2 brothers, and a good buddy of mine that I'd call a brother. So it was like every day after school, well, let's go jam, you know?
It's like if the Ramones did grunge music.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can get away with a lot more when it's your brothers. No, I'm not going to change how I play that bass line.
Did you guys argue on stage?
We had every time we had a
It's an
show,
Oasis situation.
for some reason, my brother Drew and I would get in a fist fight, preferably while driving, and he would yell and we'd yell and scream at each other so much we'd blow our voices out to some degree. So the next day, oh, it was sketchy. Yeah.
As I know, the highway system in Pittsburgh is not great, so that's not a good spot to fight.
I think the story was in the tunnels. We were coming
Okay,
from
yeah.
downtown
Yeah.
through the tunnels out to the
Yeah.
suburbs, and my brother's in the backseat, and I'm like going like this, and he's in the backseat trying to swing around and hit me. Cigarettes are flying, people are getting burnt, and the drummer and the lead guitarist are like, "What the hell is going on?" So
It's just what they do.
just let them go work it out. They'll get through it. They'll get through it.
So how long was the band ago?
Well, we started.
The band's still going, baby?
My brother would tell you that. I would not. We probably ended in about 2002.
Okay.
But we had been playing since 92.
Oh wow.
I mean, so we were all in high school. Yeah, and like even in college, I would come home for, we had a show on a Saturday. Well, I'd drive home on Friday, and we'd play a show and then drive back on Sunday.
Wow.
Because I thought that we were going to be rock and roll stars. I think art school also kind of tempered that as well. Like I kind of came back, I'm like, I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a year or two and see how it goes. It didn't go anywhere. So
Any EPs?
we have recorded 3 of our own albums. They are not on iTunes.
Oh, damn.
I was gonna say, are they on Spotify?
Are they anywhere out there in the
Yeah.
world?
There is.
Because I want to hear that.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
So we were on a bunch of CD compilations that the college put out.
Okay.
So we were on,
Gotta start digging in Goodwill.
Right.
well, the Micah like music compilation, but oh god, MySpace. I think the Lurps still have a MySpace page.
And your brother's still running it.
Yeah.
No, I don't think anybody's touched it.
There's merch.
But ridiculous songs like "If MacGyver Was a Junkie,"
Love it.
just goofy stuff.
Yeah.
And I was the one that I didn't sing a lot. I could just scream loud enough that I didn't need a mic,
Sure.
and that was probably good. That was probably good.
So you have 3 albums. You gotta have these on cassette somewhere.
Oh, cassette. Yeah, I don't even think I have a cassette player though.
I do.
I have a fishing tackle box full of tapes, and a lot of them are like 4-track tapes that
Yeah.
need to go back into a 4-track like
Yeah.
to be mixed down.
My the guy that's across from me in my studio at Cathead, you probably know him, Jacob Gardner. He has a 4-track mixer with a cassette.
Even while I was in college, I took the 4-track down there and I made a video piece. Like, it was all about text. The piece was comfort. We had met in that class every week at 11 a.m. So I built this piece and didn't say a whole lot. People came in, sat down, expected to watch a film that the professor had selected, like Return to the Valley of the Dolls or Gimme Shelter, all about like persona as an artist, right?
Yeah.
And you
Ziggy
did-
Stardust. And
You did MacGyver as a junkie.
no. I made this awful recording. Well, I went around and recorded everything like local sounds in Baltimore. Trains passing, cars honking. And I had a whole sketchbook full at 0.18 seconds, this happens. At 0.23, this happens. So I documented it all. So I don't know what the real art is. Is it the film that I made? Or is it like the neurotic scribblings in this sketchbook?
Could be both.
Yeah.
Put them
And
together.
I ended up so I think I had 16 different tracks. I compiled them, smashed them all down onto one channel, and there was like a recording of a clock that I had, like and what happened is sometimes that clock would be in tune with the clocks all on the other recordings. Other times it wouldn't. So it would sound like horses racing. It would sound like it was just confusing. But the idea was, the title of the piece was Comfort. We come here, we look at it. So it was just the bottom half of a clock and you watching the hands go like this. When we were done, everybody was like, that was awesome, but I never want to see that again.
I was like, staring at a clock hand that has like suspense and tension,
Right.
not comfort. And I'm like, I would be like, dude, this isn't Perth.
right, well, I'm not supposed to be here watching this, right? Like, that was kind of like my whole plan. Like, I was the last person to present in that class that for that semester, and yeah, so, but there it is, text, and the clock had the brand of I think it was West Clocks was the brand, so as the hand moved, it made it say different words, which I totally got off on as well, because it's text.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, I know.
So the band ended.
Band ended. I was still in Pittsburgh. I was working at an art supply store. They were looking for a manager that would be willing to move. We looked in Farmington, Michigan. That didn't pan out. And then this spot in Indianapolis showed up. And so I moved out here in January 2004. And I've been here ever since. Opened the shop. And as other people have pointed out to me, well, if you want to meet artists, I guess opening an art store is probably the easiest way to meet other artists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? So it was kind of cool to do that. And at the time, Indy had one other art store, but they were gouging people on price. This is like prior to the dawn of the Dick Blick, where they can sell everything online. And
Right.
but it was a great opportunity to move out here and talk to people, and I really started to find I really enjoyed talking to people about what they were doing, and tried not to get too up on my high horse about, you know, materials and stuff like that. But if you're going to try to mix oil and acrylic paint, I'm going to call you out.
Sure.
I mean, have you seen Italian dressing? That's what you're trying to do. You can shake it up and they can be mixed a little bit for a while, but eventually all that crap's going to come apart.
I've never met someone so in tune into supplies. Every time I go in the store, I say, I want this, and he's like, no,
No, you don't.
you want this. And I'm like, no, I want this. And he's like, no.
I'll give you
Listen.
both.
And you'll tell me.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was like, I need this type of paper. You're like, try this paper. And I'm like, no, I don't want this paper. And you're like, just try it. And I come back like, I need a lot of that paper.
Stonehenge, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's good stuff.
As a spray paint artist, it's the only place in Indy that really carries those Montana
Yeah.
hardcore paints too. It's like here or Bloomington.
You're right. We're online. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what
But
I mean.
don't
That's
like doing that, man.
well, I think,
I'm a
I think
tactical.
that's
I'm a tactile
why
person. I need.
it's such a big deal for me to have my staff smart about supplies,
yeah.
because they need to be able to answer any question. And I
Yeah.
won't, I'm not always there, believe it or not. So I think that it is great that we have that, and that was an uphill battle to fight to even get those to come in.
Yeah.
You know,
That store, it has everything. Like, and I actually love it. When I used to live more
Closer, yeah.
No, when I used to live downtown
Oh, yeah.
in the MRF, I would hate to go there because it's farther away. But now where I am, it's easier access. I mean, I don't think I've ever been since college to a store where it was so much good quality stuff and not
Right.
just, you know, the basic generic stuff. Like, I mean, I've always enjoyed myself there. I mean, there's stuff that I can walk through and like see materials that I used to use in college and be like, damn, like I didn't think I would see this stuff again.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what's nice. I think that we have a pretty loyal customer base where they like to be able to come in. I mean, there's people that come in that my son doesn't work there, but they all know his name. And they're, oh, how's Liam doing? Or I think they enjoy the community. It's almost like going back to art school where it's like you walk into the school store and you have people that are like-minded, right? So we can talk about art. We can talk. So what are you having trouble with? Your Naples yellow is too thick, or well, let me tell you, you got to try this or try this. And 9 times out of 10, you know me, I'm like, here, try this one. Yeah, that one's on the house. Try it because I know you're going to be hooked and you're going to come back.
Like me.
First taste is free.
Brian Short
pay.
is
I'm an art supply dealer.
Yeah. He's the drug dealer of art supplies.
It's worse than crack though, because we need these to express ourselves. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I don't like ordering online because I don't get to touch and look
Yep.
and see the
Same
color.
thing.
You know.
Same thing.
I don't like to make the guy look the other way and put it in my pocket. Nah, I joke.
Yes.
I joke. I don't do that at your art store.
Yours. He says.
All right, so like you know you've been talking about this art store and we just keep calling it the art store. Maybe we should give it the name,
Okay, so the name of the store is Prism, the artist supply store.
the artist supply store.
Yep.
And how many years have you worked there?
So I've worked at this location since 2004, so I guess that's 13 years.
Dang.
But I've worked for the company now for 23 years.
Wow.
23.
Yeah.
Now, now it's not only an art store; it's also a frame
A frame shop as well, yeah.
frame shop, and
Yep.
I've seen your digs in the back.
Yep.
And it was funny because when I was doing my basement studio, I was trying to base it off of his back shop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the island in the middle, and
With
up.
cubbies underneath.
Yep.
and-
Yeah.
And I really liked it, and I kind of want to get a little into the framing biz because I find this like such an exclusive biz, and there is a demand, and people always are like, why is it so expensive? Because like it's not just buying a frame. Like most artists, we need custom.
Right?
Yeah.
Because my first experience was my senior year of high school, and I had elongated. I did a skinny drawing, and I remember I took it to a frame shop, and it was like $200, and I was just like, what?
The glass. I mean, the glass alone was $100.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, framing is a very bizarre animal. Talking about the price and framing, it's interesting because I would say a majority of the cost you're paying for is loss. Because if you come in and I have a 96-inch length of frame, let's say you only need 56 inches of that, right? Okay, well now I've lost it, and unless I find someone that has the exact amount for that last part,
It's just
it basically is lost.
it's floating.
But it's also how you can make money. Because if I can find someone to use that, well, you've already paid for it completely by that first part that I cut off. It's just like mat board. When you look at mat board, it's 32 by 40. It's a huge difference when you go over 16 by 20. It doubles. You go over 32 by 20, it doubles again. And then you go over 32 by 40 and it doubles again because it's quartering the mat board.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. I think everybody always is like, why is this shit so damn expensive? And I will tell you, it's a skill. It's a skill. You have to learn. And
I saw you doing stuff. Actually, when I was there, the last time I was in the back shop, he was framing Daredevil #1 and Silver Surfer #1.
Oh, cool.
yes,
Cool.
I framed Iron Man #1. A buddy of mine collects comics, and he brings them in, and I'm just like, I'm putting these in the safe. But it's cool because you get to frame stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or, you know, God, I think I've done one of those full-length racing uniforms. It's all leather.
Yeah.
Well, I tacked that up and made a thing out of it, too.
Like a shadow box style?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I think that with the framing comes kind of what we were talking about earlier. When you assign value to someone and you're asking for a certain amount of money for your artwork, framing is the thing that I think as artists that I think it's so hard for us to do. We finished doing the physical painting or the creation part.
It's done.
It's done. But the thing is if you put a frickin' frame on it, it might cost you $300 more, but it's going to make you $1,000 more.
Yeah, it bumps up the value.
Because the reason we frame things is because we as people have assigned value. I assign value, whether it be, oh, it's, you know, so cute, my son did this, or I bought this piece when I was on vacation, or I bought this from an up-and-coming artist and I think it's going to be worth more money later. Like, we are assigning value. And then by putting into a frame, whether people realize it or not, when they see something framed, oh, well, someone cared about this enough to frame it.
Yeah.
Framing is peculiar.
Coolest thing you ever framed?
I'm a comic guy, so probably Iron Man #1 was probably
Weirdest thing you have ever framed?
well. There's so many. Someone brought in a tobacco leaf that they wanted framed, and they brought it in and it was fresh. And I'm like, look, I can't do anything with this and guarantee that it's going to stay looking like this because I don't have any way to preserve it between now and when we get the frame in. So I told him, take it to an art conservator and have him get it into some kind of stable place of deterioration, and then I'll frame it.
I just love the expression that guy's face was like, "You fucking kidding me?" Probably.
Oh yeah, like I'm pretty magical. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not that magical. Like, I can't fight nature.
Yeah.
And it's just like getting accessories when you buy a car. Do you want museum glass? Well, museum glass looks like there's no glass there, but it's 99.9 UV protected, right? It looks awesome, but not every piece needs that, right? I think it's a lot about talking to the customer and, you know, why do you want this? Where's it going? You know, and that kind of stuff.
I've seen you in action once. I hid behind the table so no one saw me. But yeah, I saw you in action because I remember you were talking to somebody and they're like, it's just this something. I think it was like a throwaway kind of thing, and you're like, you don't want a custom frame. Like,
there's ways around it. I mean, now I will say this: I'm probably a frame snob at this point because if it doesn't have 3 inches around it all the way around, I'm like, you cheaped out. You know, like, not that, but I don't have. But
I need to take all my work off my walls when he.
Right.
Well, no, but I mean,
build my own frames and they're DIY garbage. But
well, like I have.
it's my style.
I have a piece of yours that I framed, and what I did was I float mounted it. I didn't cut a mat. I float mounted it into just a regular black frame.
Yeah.
Well, that looked perfect because if I had to add matte, it was going to be so much bigger.
And I already have like some, I think, fake borders on it. Like,
right.
yeah.
So mine are all on records, and people are like, "How do I frame this?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. That's out of."
There's no record frame. There's frames.
There's record frames. I
Yeah,
mean,
12 by 12.
we framed a whole bunch of records for the Ale Emporium next door to me.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it was just a matter. I think it's like 11 1/4
Yeah.
is the opening I make, or is it 11 inches? Because it's 11. Whatever it is, it's a 1/4 inch in, and just get a circle cut, and you can pop it right into almost like a 12 by 12.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's. But I think what's so hard is people see this and they don't understand why it's so much. And I'm like, well, it takes a little bit of
craft,
knowledge.
too.
You're right, and
It's a special.
There's like mathematics and stuff to it.
yeah.
Like, I'm taught how to do this thing.
Well, and I think there's things that look good and things that don't. Like, what drives me nuts is if someone's like, well, I don't care about the signature. But I'm like, but the signature makes it.
I thank you for pointing this. I hate looking at when people frame silkscreen prints and they cut off the signature
and the number.
edition.
Yeah.
And
Why?
it's like, that's fully part of, like, as a printmaker, that tells you who it's by and what number it is made of. You know, and it's just like, so where's the edition? Like, oh, it's underneath the mat. And I'm like, why did you? He's like, well, because it's signature and it was just white and black and it's not the color.
But if you give it a nice little 1/4 inch around it, right, and at the bottom you make it a 1/2 inch,
Yeah.
it looks like it looks like a double mat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, it's just that kind of stuff that I don't think that it's evidenced by people come in and they're like, okay, can you frame this for me today? I need it in like 3 hours. No, I can't.
That's me.
That's impossible. Yeah, but for you, I'd give it a college try. You know, like it's not that I'm turning away business. It's just like, oh no, I can't order a frame in and assemble a frame. No, but there's all these tricks, and I think framing can really, even if it's just a simple modern black frame with a white mat, it makes it look awesome.
It pops it up, and it does add value.
Well, and the whole reason matting was created, it wasn't a decorative element. It was created specifically so the glass would not touch the artwork and destroy it. So it's decorative, but as well as
Practical.
Knowledge is power.
and knowing's half the battle. G.I. Joe!
Please cut that. That's probably
Staying in.
Oh man, and okay, so let's head to the last thing. Is you are president of Primary Colors. Please describe to the listeners all around the world what Primary Colors is.
Okay. Primary Colors is it's time suck? No. I didn't get it. No, Primary Colors is an all-volunteer, nonprofit arts organization. I think our mission statement is to allow local artists the opportunity to engage the community in which we live. I think we do a really good job at that. I think we all really, really enjoy supporting the up-and-coming artists. You don't have to have a name to show with us. And it doesn't mean if you do have a name, we won't show you. It's just it's always kind of a good mixture of different people at different levels of artistic talent, or different levels of where they're at in their artistic journey. We have two major events. Our two major events are Art versus Art and Installation Nation. And up until this past December, we had a gallery space. We're still curating spaces throughout the city. We've been at the Athenaeum, we've been at Circle City South. We've kind of bounced around. It's kind of been nice because we're not stuck in the same space. It's a little fun to take over a space and create your own experience within there. But our big event is probably Art versus Art, which is head-to-head painting competition. The grand prize is $4,000. So I'll make this as quick as I possibly can.
No, because I love this. Like, I liked Art versus Art. I will say I've never been to the main event, but as being, joined into the gallery and being in the Murphy, I always saw all the work that was signed up. And anyone that actually did it, I always heard great things. Like, everyone's always like, it's fun. There's a dude wearing a dress with a chainsaw.
Right. I mean, of course.
Yeah,
That has to happen.
Yeah, this is a thing that's kind of in other cities too. Though.
Well, I've seen something just recently where you paint actually head to head.
Yeah.
At the same time. I mean, physically.
It's like a Cincinnati thing I saw.
I saw that, and I think that they're franchising it. And people have approached us about franchising it.
Yeah.
And the tough part for us is, and I think as president, this was probably one of my first major issues I had to face, is if you don't follow the rules for this event to the T, it opens Pandora's box for complaints. I mean, you're going to get complaints no matter what.
Yeah, you're going to be destroying art.
You have to stand behind the rules and say, look, you weren't there, you can't win. You did this, you can't win. Because if you don't, then everybody's running wild. Like, the whole concept of Art versus Art is to the lowest common denominator. Everybody gets the same 5 colors of paint, same crappy paint, which Prism donates, by the way. But we give them the same 5 colors of paint, the same 4 brushes, and an 18 by 24 canvas board.
You write that off on your taxes.
In our next episode, we will be talking a little bit about tax.
So what happens is we have 100 people show up on paint day. Paint day is usually the last weekend in August, and then the main event is usually the last weekend in last Friday in September.
And it's time. They have a certain amount of time.
4 hours. Do your best. You got 4 hours to make your painting.
I have seen some amazing paint pieces and done in 4 hours with crappy paint.
Yeah, I mean, I know what I give them, and I'm like, did you sneak some paint in?
And there are some artists that try to cheat and sneak stuff in.
Oh, there's people that I've seen that have snuck in things to take that they've done it, and they're going to trace it onto a board. I won't mention any names.
This can also say it's not necessarily always the supplies that make the artist.
Right.
You can make anything with
Correct. I think
Yeah.
the people that are the most
And that's
successful
impressive.
are usually the illustrators.
Yeah.
They usually have a better idea. You do something that's kind of like nostalgic to us as we've gotten older, like a He-Man or a Care Bear or something that's easily identifiable.
Yeah.
They always seem to be in the top 4. You know what I mean? What's awful? So we should back up because the event works this way. You have 4 hours to paint. You paint your masterpiece. We then take your masterpiece. We put it up online on artversusart.com.net.
.net.
now.
World Wide Web. Just say the World Wide Web.
Actually, we do own artversusart.com now, so it could be both. So then what happens is after that happens, we put them online. Everybody can go and vote. They pick their top 3 paintings. So what that does is it gets us to the main event. But what's kind of cool is in past years, what we've done is we've taken all these paintings and moved them from our gallery in the Fountain Square, then moved them to Sun King, and people could vote in person there, then to the BRVA the week before, and then we take those top 100, and between all the voting, we narrow it down to the top 32. The top 32, then, we display previously, because you have to be 21 or over to get into the Vogue. So to kind of cater to those that aren't 21, we put the top 32 paintings in indie, CD, and vinyl, so anybody can come and vote. Then we move those 32 into the Vogue where the main event happens.
And shit gets real.
It gets really real. So what ends up happening, and everybody signs a waiver or a contract saying they know what could possibly happen. Your painting could be destroyed.
Yeah.
That's what this event is about.
I mean, like, when you get into it, you gotta understand, like, your painting's probably gonna get destroyed.
Yes.
It has to be.
The
like,
odds are not necessarily in the favor of it
No.
being destroyed.
No, and I think it's not even the understanding. Like, okay, my this canvas I worked on for 4 hours is gonna get destroyed. I don't think they compute that. It's gonna get, like, with a chainsaw. It's to the most extreme. You're gonna put
Dirty Sanchez. It's just brown paint, I swear.
like, I think people don't understand. It's like, it's not just gonna be like, put it in the trash bin and you can pick it up later. It's like, no, we're gonna put it through a grinder.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, last year I think we shaved parts of my beard off and glued them to the painting. So it was disgusting. Now here's what's awesome though about it. So when the paintings go head to head on stage, by crowd applause, one painting wins, it moves to the next round. One painting loses, it faces the Wheel of Death. We spin the Wheel of Death. And the Wheel of Death will land on, there's always a chainsaw every year. And there's always a multitude of different modes of death. The Monet shot, the Dirty Sanchez, the Cleveland Steamer. They're all horrible. They're just disgusting.
but you're saying this, that they're all horrible, but you literally have the biggest grin on your fucking face.
I'm not supposed to like this, I think. I don't know. I mean, because every year we come up with 5 different ways to kill these paintings.
Yeah.
You know? And those are the best meetings.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna ask. That's the best highlight.
So the hard part is, I always feel like the dad, like, no, we can't do that, or don't tell your mother. But, like, I want to use fire. No, we can't use fire. Only Will Trout is allowed to use fire at the end. Like, we're not allowed to use fire. We're not allowed to use electricity. We're not, like, we have to really rein it in.
Rules and regulations.
Rules and regulations.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had a situation where someone has been hit with a piece of a painting, and we had to pay their medical bills. Like, but
Yeah.
we forgot to mention there's a burlesque troupe involved in all this too. It's so over the top and baroque, and like when it was first explained to me, when they came to me and asked Prism to be a part of it, they had said, it's kind of like Jackass, or it's kind of like a game show on acid.
It's like the Gong Show.
Yeah.
What you just said was Primary Colors went and asked you as being the GM of Prism.
Uh-huh.
So this was way before you even joined.
Correct. In 2004, before my store was even open, I'm in there in like grungy clothes and my hair looks like that, and I'm like, someone's knocking on the door, and I'm like, who the hell is this? And it was one of the original founders of the organization and another guy whose Art versus Art was his brainchild, and can we talk to you? I'm like, this sounds awesome, but I don't have my donation budget, so I'm going to give you all the brushes for free, but you have to buy the rest of the stuff, but I'll give it to you at like a 10% discount.
That's awesome.
Now we donate all the supplies.
Yeah.
So after that, were you like, sign me up?
When I first opened the store, I worked every day, open to close, so like for the first year. So I wasn't like, I didn't want signed up for anything else.
Yeah.
Your life was already penned out.
I'm like, I'm living in a hotel, like, we'll get it figured out, but slowly over the years I became more and more with that organization, and then was finally asked to join the board, and then finally became president as well. But when you become president, nobody warns you. I've had so many people come into my store and be like, I can't believe you support this.
Really?
And my response is, well, I'm glad we have this forum to share our opinions. And then I go in the back room and laugh my ass off. But I mean, and it's good if the people are. I mean, isn't it good to have a reaction better than no reaction? Like, to have people come in and be like, it's just not right that you destroy artwork. But it's crappy paint. They had 4 hours. They paid $15, got a free ticket to the show, and they can win $4,000.
Not only that, but
It's a gamble.
They
Yeah.
did it. They allowed. They're submitting to it.
Right.
They want to. That means they're supporting the event. Means that they're for it. So why are you against them being for it?
Well, I mean, I think about some local artists that have springboarded from it, like Amory Abbott, Chris Sickles, Mab Graves, have all are winners of Art versus Art. And kind of have gone from there, and it's kind of like given them confidence, and $4,000 goes a long way for studio supplies as well. You know, there's people that have had that experience, and it's great. It's gotten crazy in the past couple years. I think for the past 2 years, we've put over $7,000 back into the artist's pockets, because whatever we sell the paintings for, the artist gets 70% of what we sell it for.
That's awesome.
So, like. And that goes for the paintings on stage, and it goes for all the paintings that don't go up on stage.
So, just kind of get a little more detail on that. So, you have 2 paintings on stage, and they do a crowd pleaser.
Uh-huh.
They both do audience yelling, and then whoever loses gets
Faces the wheel of death.
And then, so can someone bid on that and be like, I want to save it?
So for each round, so for the first round to save a painting, the bidding starts at $150. Second round is $250. Third round is $350. Fourth round is $450. So what happens is we have these paintings, and what's been great, I mean, it's kind of a problem, kind of not. When you have this much good artwork,
Yeah.
you can't. Everybody wants to buy it.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to buy it.
So, are you just standing on stage with a chainsaw, like, when am I going to break shit?
Yes,
wanna
because
use this
starting that chainsaw backstage is one of the most dangerous things you can do. I mean, it's like this wide. Look out, Martin! Don't hit the MC, no. But so we wait. But then in past years, what we've ended up having happen is people are buying paintings so they can choose how they get destroyed. So like.
Oh, that's evil.
We had one guy that his painting's been bought for the past 3 years. So bear in mind, he is getting 70% of what we sell for.
Yeah.
But I think it was a 150 painting in the first round that got up to like 300.
Okay.
And the person said, I want to decide how it gets destroyed. That's why I'm buying it.
That's evil. I love it.
I mean, but what's great is all that money. I mean, it helps us as an organization,
Helps the
but it
artists.
also gives money to artists. Like even the paintings that don't make it up to the top 32, they're all on the side. We're selling them for $50. If they sell, the artist gets $35. Like that's what's important.
And they didn't have
For
to pay
4 hours of work.
They
They
didn't pay supplies at all.
I mean, and
Yeah.
they paid $15, and they get to take the supply, like the brushes, home with them if they want. Like,
Yeah.
it's a good deal.
Yeah.
You
And
guys,
it's exposure. I mean,
Yeah.
exposure goes a long way.
you guys are one of the only organizations I know in the city that really tries to help the artists and gives like them an opportunity for so much exposure.
Right. I mean,
I always love primary colors.
it's tough that way. It's also tough to kind of police it, to know how to do what and where. And I will say now that we're not in a situation like it's almost easier if I get it digitally, someone emails me something, than if they physically drop something off, because then I've got to show it to 3 other people before we can agree on it. And it's hard because we're not just doing art versus art. We're not just doing the gallery. There's, behind the scenes things, making sure that people are showing up to enough board meetings, making sure that we have enough people on this committee and that committee and this committee, finding new blood, bringing in volunteers, because you don't want everybody to come in right away and be a board member. You gotta, and I guess that would be my advice if you're interested in getting involved in a non-for-profit, volunteer first. Volunteer first. Make sure that your ideals match theirs, because you may get into it And I don't think that Primary Colors has anything to hide. I mean, because we don't hide behind anything. We just stand behind the rules for art versus art. It's just tough, to keep everybody happy. And what do you do when you're like, well, this work, it's just not up to snuff. It's not at the level that we want to show in our gallery.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you applying. And you want to be careful because 9 times out of 10 we try to give some positive feedback and say, this is what we like, this is what we didn't like. We think if you could do this or this, maybe next year reapply and we could get you a show or into a group show. And it's tough like that. It's definitely tough like that.
So you tackle as being the GM of Prism, and you're also the Primary Colors president. I mean, it takes a lot of time. It's almost like another full-time job.
It definitely is. Yeah, it's a lot of time, and sometimes it's more just making sure that the right people are at the right places at the right time,
and making sure they do the right things.
I mean, and I guess that goes back to we talked about art versus art and possibly being franchised, and
right.
But the thing is like, do we want art versus art to go out there and like I'm not there, so I can't tell you. No, you can't let them use their own brushes.
Yeah.
You can't let them bring an easel. You can't, like, these are all things that we've learned over the years. You let one person use an easel, and then next year everybody's going to bring their own damn easel.
They take a mile.
Artists are creative people. They
Yeah.
will find ways around
yeah.
the rules.
Yeah.
Like at one point in time, there was no cell phones allowed. Well, you can't do that now.
Right.
I mean,
They already have sketches and color.
right, like a concept already in there, But then we thought about and at this point, almost everybody has the ability to have access to a smartphone.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's a tablet or a smartphone, what's the difference? About 3 inches, right? I mean, so we had to kind of do away with that rule. And I think that's been one of those things that's been tough. So let them have source material. As artists, we use source material. It used to be like you can only bring 3 Xerox copies. Now we're like, you've got your phone. I think it just got to the point where we were having to boot people you can't use your phone, you're out.
Sooner or later, there's going to be a little projector on the cell phone. They'll just hold it up. And
I think they have that.
There is one. Samsung has something like
Moto or whatever.
Yeah.
And
There
I'm
is
like, great.
that does 75 inches or something. Crazy.
We had to bust somebody because they had brought it had carbon paper on one side and it was tracing paper.
Yeah.
And they had folded it all up and brought it up, and then we're just going to trace it again on the painting.
They did like a Indiana Jones rub.
Yeah. and I'm like, you can't do that.
They did a rubbing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But it's a fun event, and like I said, so usually last year's artist won $4,000 and then sold his painting for another $500. So now,
Boom. That's
I
money.
mean, $4,500.
That's good money.
We don't keep any percentage of the grand prize. We just take percentage of what we sell the paintings for.
That's awesome.
But to do 7,000, and I think the work keeps getting better. I feel like the people that are kind of on the bubble, there was a lot more people that were on the bubble before. I'm gonna come paint with my friend. Okay, well you should come paint with your friend for the $15 it costs to get in. You get a free ticket for $15 to paint.
You're basically paying for the ticket.
Right. So what are you losing?
Nothing.
But you have to be there in order to win, which is an example of one of the things that I had to deal with. One year, somehow, a painting had scooted through without us finding out that the artist wasn't there. Oh God.
You just transitioned that perfect.
Oh God. I mean, we had a situation where the artist wasn't there, but it made it to the final round. The thing was, I don't think we realized that the artist wasn't there until we're like, the artist, come on down! And no one shows up. And then, luckily, someone had bought the other painting, and so it didn't get destroyed. We couldn't let that person win because he wasn't there. But if we would have let him win, that means that everybody
Every rule,
you got to throw it out the door, and you cannot do that with that event.
especially with money on the line.
$4,000, absolutely.
I have a question about art versus art.
Okay.
What is the big thing that you had to say no? That, as far as a destruction method was, and what's your favorite destruction method outside of the chainsaw?
Because when he said chainsaw,
Oh yeah.
his fucking face went like.
Oh
it glowed.
yeah.
Okay, well, okay.
But that's your staple. That's your
So-
base. You're starting with chainsaw.
Last year we had the Chainsaw of Truth,
Okay.
which was an extremely tall woman dressed in a Wonder Woman
Yeah, I was gonna say Wonder
costume,
Woman thing, yeah.
chainsawing paintings. It doesn't get a whole lot better.
If only the chain was gold.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the Cleveland Steamer because we had one of the burlesque girls come out and do it.
Yeah.
And it was something that I had built.
Yeah.
So it was like a laundry basket thing that I put a top on and had a thing you could lift up and down. So, but like when you would spray, like you're spraying starch and you're ironing something.
Yeah.
And then I put on the bottom, I put a fog maker. And so whenever she would close it down, I would hit the button. It would just look like it was getting steamed.
Nice.
That's awesome.
But she would squirt like brown fluid acrylics all over the painting, and she'd pull it up like there's no. It wasn't like what she did actually destroyed it.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a
It's
slight
like theatrics kind
Right.
of thing, which is fun, yeah.
And that was one of my favorites because she was definitely a showman. I mean, she was like, I don't know how to explain what she did.
She was into it.
She was
Burlesque,
really
though.
into it.
Yeah.
One of the ones that I really enjoy that probably crossed the line is the Monet shot where they took a super soaker
Oh.
and made it look like a phallus
It's like
and
a
it
large
shot
concert.
white paint all over the canvases. That one was met with
With love.
no,
No?
nobody
Oh,
liked
man.
that. Was just over the top for everybody.
I'm gonna throw one out for a future event. The Blue Period. If you could somehow work in a Blue Period, maybe.
You get nasty.
They're all pretty nasty titles.
Yes, they are.
What's one you had to say no? Just
So the
somebody's
perfect
like, I
example
wanted a
that
flamethrower, and
the-
you're like,
the
you
fire-
can't flamethrower.
For the fire stuff, the two that I keep having to say no to. Well, one I didn't say no to. We just had to change it.
Yeah.
There was the Jay-Z incident with Solange Knowles, and
Okay.
it was going to be like one of the girls came out with a heel and beat the crap out of the prop
Ooh,
painting.
okay.
And we were going to call it 99 Problems. But when we were all getting together and discussing it, they're
Yeah.
like, I think that happened, and then right on the heels of that, you had the Ray Rice thing happen
Oh,
within
yeah.
and it's like, this isn't funny.
Right.
You kind of have to go. It was maybe it was too soon. I don't
Sure,
know. You had
sure,
to go.
yeah, sure.
You had to go. Okay, we're gonna have to say. We still did the same thing, but we didn't call it 99 Problems.
Yeah.
I get that.
Gotcha.
The one that I consistently every year have to tell Martin no to. He wants to do a wood chipper on stage, and we'd call it the Fargo. But I can't find any way for us to do that on
Without
stage.
the canvas shooting at people.
I mean, either shooting all the shreds up into the. I mean, because there's a full band on stage,
Yeah.
and they get upset when there's any kind of spray or anything that they could breathe in while they're playing their wind instruments. Like that's like the hardest part.
There's a way. Like, you could build, like, an acrylic topper and then have, like, a hand crank.
Oh, I mean,
Almost, you know?
I've
Yeah.
said this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I planned this out.
Yeah.
But the problem is I'm like the dad. I'm like, we can't do that. What
Yeah.
if somebody's hand? You guys are all drunk backstage. What if somebody's hand gets stuck in there? They're
I'll
like,
come in there. I'm sober, man.
see, and that's the problem.
I can see Martin be like, that's okay. I'm okay with losing a hand if I can put a canvas in.
Well, and then there was another one where he was going to be on a toilet that we wheeled out. I'm like, guys, there's no space.
Canvas?
I don't know. I don't even ask. Basically, it's like we sit down for the Modes of Death meeting, and I'm like, no. Oh, that's good. No.
It's good, but no.
Like, I mean, we have to be aware of our surroundings. We have to be like, I would love to have a thing where we paintball the crap out of a painting, but
Yeah.
like, I don't know if we could do it far enough away, like the sniper or something. But you could do it from up in the balcony,
Put in
right?
a cannon, shoot it. And
Right. I mean,
Dunk, dunk.
and we've had people get shit in their eyes and stuff from that too. So it's like it's tricky. Like, how do you?
Yeah.
Or like, when are we going too far? And you've got to kind of find some that are a little bit easier to do.
when you have a big ass dick shooting white paint on it.
Monet shots.
And that reminds me of seeing Guar. And
Yeah,
they had
yeah, it's like a Guar
The sperm
concert.
cannon.
Yeah.
That's what it was. That's what it was. It's always fun. Those meetings are a lot of fun. The event planning it is a blast.
It's a lot of work though,
It's a ton of work.
because there's sponsorships.
There's sponsorships. It moves around the city in 3 different locations before it winds up where it's at. But then again, by doing that, we're giving somebody that's not necessarily an artist an opportunity to show in a gallery
Yeah.
or to be exposed down at Sun King. And there's paintings that don't make it in the top 32 that I think are great paintings, and people get them for $50. That's a steal.
Yeah, that is.
You know,
Like, could you imagine getting an early Mab Graves painting for like
$50.
for like
Right.
$50? That's insane.
right? I mean,
You could
well,
turn around and
she won. I think she won the 1 year.
the 1 year she went.
Yeah, and then the next year she participated, but I don't know. I think she ended up, didn't finish the painting.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that hypothetical of like
Yeah.
these people could be something.
Well,
in
you have
3-4 years.
William Denton Ray.
Yeah.
You have, I mean, I'm trying to think of some of the,
You say Chris Sickles.
Chris Sickles, yeah.
I've hired him to do illustration.
I mean, they look like his little people.
Really?
You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
He won like maybe 2 years. I mean, and that's what's so great. And it's always great when you see like the big artists, and I think that maybe pushes the people that are painting around that person to paint maybe to another level too.
You're side by side.
Yeah.
You know, you're
It's
at an
fun.
equal playing ground
Right.
starting out there.
It's a very interesting event, and like I maybe said before, when they came to me, that was when like Jackass on MTV was at its height,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, this is basically like art Jackass, right? Like
Yeah.
we're gonna go over the top, we're gonna do something bizarre and weird, and we're all gonna get together in the name of art. We're
Yeah.
not making masterpieces. We are just getting together and having this fun event. And it's all tongue in cheek. You spent 4 hours. It's not like your masterpiece where you spent 3 years working on it. Like, it's okay. It's
Yeah,
okay.
have fun with it. Yeah.
And I think most everybody knows it. Now, in the early days when people didn't realize that we were going to destroy their painting, I've gotten into heavy discussions over the fact that no, we're not going to. You can't have your painting back. Technically, by signing it, as soon as your painting's done, it becomes our property. Yeah.
And I will destroy it.
And enjoy it.
So you better start to learn to enjoy it.
So going from the demonic destruction event, you also have another event that almost is a national-wide event.
Yeah, we do a national call, Installation Nation. It looks like we're gonna. So we've done it in June through July, so it's usually up for like 3 weeks. In years past, I think we're gonna move it to September in 2018. And the idea is that way it'll get dark earlier, so we can do some more like light-based work and stuff like that. But I think we're also at a point where this is a great. This is like, to me, art versus art. Everybody can enjoy and participate in. Installation Nation, not everybody can participate in it. You got to kind of know what you're doing. We do our calls on Cafe, and we get, we've had even stuff people submit from overseas. We don't charge a fee to enter. We have 50 or 60 submissions every year, and we got to narrow it down to like 12 or 13. Now, what's great about this is each artist gets $1,000 to create their vision. And it's always kind of a little bit of a gamble. I mean, when you're sitting there and we're judging, and you look at people's resumes and go, oh, well, they've done something like this before. It shouldn't be a big deal. Or you look at, they've never done anything about this, and what they have planned is so technically difficult. You got to be like, that's on the bubble.
Can you do that for $1,000? Really?
But then again, where is there opportunities for artists to make installation work on the regular? We have an annual event. I mean, Turf only happened once. Enlighten only happened once. So we have an opportunity where we do this year after year. If you have 12 artists, that's $12,000 out of our organization's pocket. But we really believe in the event. The event is strange because when we first started the event, we started in like 20-foot long shipping containers. It became so difficult because they dropped their shipping containers, and it wasn't like if they dropped them in the wrong place, we could move them.
Right.
And it would be like, so if you came up on the event, all you see is these shipping containers in a row, or however we decide to line them up. So you don't really see any art. What's cool now, we moved it to the Indianapolis Arts Center. You can stand in one place and see all of the installations, and that's cool.
It's awesome.
I mean, you can really, it doesn't feel so closed off. Maybe you don't go up to every single installation like you did before, but
it's there.
It's there. And we had a huge problem with electronics in the truck shipping containers because it gets so hot in there in the middle of the summer, all the electronics would fry. So that would mean like 50% of our, pieces were shot. It's a fun event. It's in a great spot. It's a great night. we're moving into next year where it'll get darker sooner. So we're talking about possibly maybe even turning it into like partially a film festival where we could do film like at 8 o'clock at night once it gets dark, and just to kind of stretch it a little bit more, you know. It's, you know, obviously that would make it much more important to be there on opening night.
Yeah.
And it's also great to go back and see it on opening night, go back the next week, go back the next weekend, and see how much it's changed.
I can recall seeing the prelims of Williams because he's
The flags, yeah.
the flags, and when the wind went, it moved.
Right.
And it used kinetic.
Right.
And it was really cool. I like that a lot.
We've had ones that have moved, but not by their own choice. It's at the Art Center. It's an open ground. You can go back there and walk around however you want. And we had a young woman do an installation with a bunch of the punching bags with the sand in the bottom, so when you punch it, it comes back up to you.
Yeah, like a Weeble Wobble.
Yeah, and so she had a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
And I think that year, what happened was we got rained out on the opening date. So we had to end up having to do it on the second date. Well, between those two dates, somebody had come and tried to steal some. A person had she was there with her kids, she was walking around, and one of the groundskeepers said, "Oh, you can't have those, ma'am. Those are an art installation." She goes, "Okay." So he walked around, he was walking back into the art center, and then 2 minutes later, he sees this lady running with 2 inflatables to her car. She's like, "My kids need them!" She gets in her car and peels out. Right, she's gone. Like,
Kid needs them.
but that's the kind of fun stuff you do when you have an outdoor event and people can interact with it however they want.
Yeah.
You're not the boss, you know.
That's the most political way of saying it. I can see you just like, she did what? How am I supposed to tell this person right now?
Well, the hard part, it wasn't even me. It was a groundskeeper that was there that works for the art center that was like, "Man, those aren't for you to take."
Yeah.
I can just picture some lady running into like a mob soccer match. They need these inflatables. They don't need food, water, or shelter. They need these inflatables.
They're really cool inflatables.
I mean,
He's not going to sleep unless he has.
Yeah.
how's he supposed to become a world-class boxer if he doesn't have this?
You're a bum rock.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Do you have any other notes with nonprofits or any advice for anybody?
I do. So for the nonprofit, it's tricky. It's a lot more work to get it started. Being in a non-for-profit, artists are a key part of it, but they can't be the only part of it. I think on our board currently, we have someone that's an HR person in their day job. We have somebody that's a lawyer, that's their day job. We have somebody that works for like AT&T, that's their day job, and all different ages, you know, up to 60 years old. We have a whole range of different ages involved in the organization. It's really important that it not be all artists. I love artists. I live because artists buy stuff at my store. But you need all those different perspectives. And I'll tell you what, in this day and age, probably the most important thing is marketing. Because when I became president, even to now, it's only 5 years, marketing has changed vastly.
Oh yeah.
With social media and the way that works. And I don't want to sound like an old curmudgeon, but it's just not something that I've ever been trained. I'm more worried about selling my art supplies and stuff like that. I'm very guilty of not putting my artwork on the web, you know what I mean? But it's also one of those things where it's like, it has definitely changed. And the rules change all the time.
Yeah.
And how do you figure it out? How do you get people to know about you? And I think we're all at a point where, even my store, print is dead. Printing stuff is the biggest waste of money and totally ungreen, and like, so why not e-blast living daylights out of everybody?
That's my business.
Well,
On a couple of fronts, because you're a screen printer.
well,
It's all right.
I would say that that's different, though. What I will say this, in working at Prism, there has definitely in the past 4 years been an uptick in printmaking.
Yeah. Silk
Like-
screening. Everybody.
Silk screening, yeah.
It's, I always find it funny is like when you say printmaking, they're always like silk screening. It's like, well, there's lino cut, there's wood cut, there's etching. Like there's all different types, but they only know about silk screening.
Yeah, it's one of those. I don't know. When a medium goes away, it kind of pops back up in its own.
More demand. Retro
Yeah.
is in demand.
But I think that,
Silkscreen's like...
but I think it speaks to our current culture, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and I love all types of artwork, and I don't have any issue with silk screening. What I seem to think, though, is it's 10 times easier to sell 10 pieces at $20 a pop and make $200 than it is to put a painting on the wall, one of a kind, and to make that $200, I got to drop my price from like 1,000 or 500 down to 200. No way.
Yeah.
No way. But I think it also is this instant gratification that we currently have. I need something, I can go on Amazon right now. What do you want me to order, guys? You know, but we're so used to that, and it's like, especially I see that in my son, where if he can't get his hands on it, when his thought happens, if he can't get his hands on it, it's gone. Then it's like our attention span is gone, but. By no means am I saying it takes away from it. I just see, I would say 4 years ago, I thought about taking out my silk screen section because no one bought it. I would leave paint on the shelves, it would go bad.
And then you met me.
Well, I met you. Well, and I think some things, the playing field's changed, you know, and I think, so then all of a sudden, I'm selling more of that to like freshmen that are taking an elective than, you know what I mean? And Talia's way expensive. You know what I mean? Lino cut, wood block, I mean, it's not that much more expensive than silk screening. I mean, but you erase your screen, you kind of keep the print number by destroying the screen. You can't print it again. I mean, it makes it valuable. Yeah. You know what I mean? But the thing is like, I don't think that the everyday average person, when they look at your work, thinks that.
No,
they don't get that.
Yeah,
they don't get what went into it to make it and all that.
They don't get that I run into your store right when it opens. I'm 4 days with no sleep, and I'm like, I need more black and transparent base.
And I'm out of transparent base.
Always. Oh, God.
I can't order enough. I order 48 bottles, and they're gone in like 2 weeks. And then I order 48 bottles again, and they sit there for 4 weeks. Or sit there for like 4 months, you know what I mean? Like,
it just fluctuates.
It's very interesting, and I think that, you know, for PC, for us to show work, we don't necessarily go, oh, this is the type of work we want to show. We're trying to find something that kind of resonates with people and put that up, you know what I mean? And without the gallery, I think we're doing a lot more group shows. And I just remember in my younger years, doing group shows all the time. And there was group shows where, in Pittsburgh, we did a thing called Flux, where it's very similar to like some of the things that happen here, like Orange, where it was a building that was in transit it was run down, and it's going to be owned by these people in a month or two, but we're going to do a show here, and then it'll be completely refurbed, so it doesn't matter if we put nails on the wall and stuff. But the one that I did that I thought was so cool, it was like $14 to get in at the door, and then all the artists that showed any work got, based on the number of artists, a percentage of what came in at the door.
That's amazing.
So, I mean, I would love to do something like that here. And I think the only thing that Primary Colors has done before is a Lottery, which is similar to that, where I think the artist was given like $250 to participate or something like that. But I would love to do something like that because there was bands.
Yeah, it's like
there was
being
artists,
kind of.
You know what I mean? There was everybody got a cut. And so it only encouraged you to bring more people. Yeah. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I would love to see something like that, and we've toyed around with that, and we're trying to hope to figure something like that. But finding the right venue with the right landlord, with the right timing, I mean, it just takes a lot of work.
It's all location.
Yeah.
Location.
Yeah.
That's an awesome idea. There was one back in my hometown called Aromatic 419 that was the same way. Take abandoned warehouses. It was free, and artists would just claim a spot. And the hang work, it could be installation, it could be music band,
right,
whatever, and you just walk through. It was amazing. And then the crazy thing was like, then like the next month, and that building would be for sale,
right,
and then the next month it got bought,
and it was
something cool,
condos or something crazy like that.
Yeah, I remember one time it turned into a co-working, like, you know, tech space and an art supply store. And then the other one turned into condos and like a restaurant on the bottom. So it just kind of helped the landlord, whoever owned it, like, hey, you're not selling this. You haven't sold in years.
Right.
If we do this, maybe someone will be interested in buying it.
Right. Oh, that space was really cool. I'll tell you one more thing about non-for-profit. It's very it's hard. It's hard because with an all-volunteer organization, well, let's back up. There's two types of boards. there's a working board, and there's a, governing board. Primary Colors is definitely a working board. If you're on the board, you're expected to be at all events and all that. A governing board would be something like at the Art Center, where they kind of say, this is what we want to work on, but they're not the boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Primary Colors is very much boots on the ground. And I think one of the things I struggle with is probably, as president, I feel like I should be at every event. I think that's important, unless there's some emergency. But you should be there to glad hand and shake hands with people, talk to the right people, make sure you're communicating, make sure you're thanking the artists that participated. But what's hard is when you're on this board, and let's say this guy over here next to me, he can only have like 4 hours a week to give. Well, I mean, I can't be mad at him. He was up front with me. I only got 4 hours. But an all-volunteer board, I think it always ends up being like, well, so-and-so's not doing this, and so-and-so's not doing this. And then you have to look at yourself and say, well, but I keep taking it all on. What as if I didn't? And I think in a lot of these non-for-profits, if it came down to, if I said, no, I'm absolutely not taking it, somebody else would pick up the ball and run with it. Yeah. But it's hard as president, because you got to give people the opportunity to fail. You got to trust them. You got to let them do their thing. Maybe they do it differently than you. I mean, and that's why you have an HR person, a legal person on the board, because we all complement each other as a whole. I mean, it kind of is symbiotic of, it kind of represents the whole system that we all work in. We have lawyers, we have bankers, we all need each other for us to continue to coexist. And I think what's hard is when you're looking at the person that's doing the numbers, you're like, oh man, you're never there. Well, the thing is he's never there, but he also puts together your forecast to let you know what you can do in the future. And I'm not doing that.
He's behind the scenes.
Right. I'm hanging the artwork, but he doesn't know that I'm hanging the artwork. He just knows that there's something that's the opening's happening on this day. Yeah. And I think it's tough, and I would really encourage people, before you become a board member, to volunteer. And make sure that it's, the organization is run in a way that you're comfortable working with. Because it's really tough. I mean, there's times where I want to pull my hair out with my organization. And there's also times where I'm like, man, we all pulled together and we made this awesome thing happen. And I'm like so proud of all you guys, and it's just be willing to give as much time as you have and make sure you know when to say, I don't have any more time and I need to back off.
Yeah, I mean, I know even just hanging work with you, almost every event was just like, I just want to rip my hair out. And then at the very end of it, you're just like, man, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Good times. Yeah, it's building up, stress, hair pulling out, blood pressure high, and then
not eating.
Yeah. And then at
not
the
sleeping.
end. Yeah, and then at the end, it's done. Last person walks out of the room, you close the door, and you all stand there and you're like,
fucking did it.
That was pretty fun.
That freaking worked, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. Everyone had a good time, and then you're like, well, let's do it again.
You have amnesia, right? Yeah. You forgot.
Yeah. Was it that hard? No, I don't think it was that hard.
Did it once, I can do it again.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it goes to speaking to, and this is one thing that I think PC really tries to work on with artists, is teaching them, when you bring art to a gallery, what state it should be in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know how many times people, I'm like, I'm not hanging it like that. No, go back, put hanging hardware on. I'll be glad to hang it as soon as you put hanging hardware on. No, I'm not going to put it on for you. Like, I'll teach you on one.
I've had that.
Every Thursday it was, he's got the teeth on the back, fucking put a wire on it.
Someone had like a 20-pound painting had teeth on it. It was like wood, it was like a wood frame with wood top, and I'm just like, no, first I'm gonna scratch out the wall, and second, it's not gonna hold, you know. And oh my gosh, I
mean, eventually it just became a blanket, always wire.
Yeah, I had to put in the contracts, like all work had wired and stuff, to the point where there was sometimes like this table, I would have it like prepped to hang stuff. And someone wouldn't come in. I remember this one dude, I won't say any names, I don't talk to him ever since the show. Wasn't a bad kid or anything, but just not knowledgeable. And brings all his work and nothing is wired. Okay? And I'm like, well, how did you expect it to hang it? And he goes, well, don't you put wires on? I'm like, I'm not a frame shop. And so
I know one.
Don't send them to me.
Yeah. And I looked at him and I says, here's the thing. I have all the equipment right here. Okay? I'll do it. for $2.50 a paint, and I can do it in like a minute. I
Yeah.
can whip each one
Right,
out in
sure,
like a minute.
yeah.
I was like, I'll do it for $2.50, and the dude was like, I'll be back. And came back the next day, everything was wired. You know, the price of me wired.
Good. You should learn how to do that.
I know.
Really easy.
And then he came back, but at the same time, then like, because he came back, it was like the day of the show. So then I'm like, I put myself in the, we have flipped things over quick. So I was like, I gotta hang all this stuff up in like an hour to get it ready before the doors open. Yes, yeah. I think like when I've seen mini shows of Primary Colors Gallery, the two things I always thought was it's cohesive and it's professional, like very professional, and it was fun. It was relaxed because me and Brian had this discussion multiple times, even off air. Is that a lot of galleries is very intimidating.
Sure.
And you don't know if you belong.
Gotcha.
And there's a lot of galleries I've been to where like I wanted to see this artist work, so I go to it and then I go in and I'm just like, okay, now I want to get out because it's not the work. I love the work.
It's just an atmosphere.
Yeah, the atmosphere. And with Primary Colors, in all the shows that you've done and all the events that I've seen, it just seems like a very relaxed atmosphere, a very welcoming atmosphere.
Art should be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't be so stiff and so like
You gotta
nose up.
You got to give everybody an opportunity, an avenue into, and I think that's kind of what Art versus Art does. It's not
Yeah,
maybe,
exactly.
like anybody can,
It's highbrow and lowbrow.
you know what I mean?
Side
You
by
can do
side.
whatever you want, but enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
Most importantly.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Well, gonna run down some websites. So if anyone wants to know anything about Art versus Art, it's artversusart.net. Primary Colors is, what is it, bro?
PrimaryColors.org.
.org. Do you what's your store's website?
PrismArt.com. Prism spelled with a Z.
Prism with a Z. You got any other shout outs that you want to do?
No.
Wait, what's the date that we figured out this was coming?
October 13th is the show at the BRVA.
It'd be the 6th. So, yeah, it would be right around then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we just want to thank you, Brian, for being on the show. I'm
Yeah.
Jake Lee.
Brian Aristotle.
Ryan Short, thank you.
Yeah,
See you
thank
next time.
Hey gang, thanks for listening to the episode. If you like what you hear and you want to send us an email, you can do that at aobpodcast@gmail.com. That's aobpodcast@gmail.com. Or you can swing by the website, which is aobpodcast.wordpress.com. And that even has a form for you to send the email that way. There's also show notes on there. We would really like it if you would, rate and review the podcast on iTunes, and we are on Google Play now. Once again, and as always, thanks for listening.
It's so funny because like I used to watch Bob Ross all the time, and I still love him to death. I love his attitude.
Sure.
And I love that it's just so simple and your mind gets blown so quickly. And then he just takes that big fat red brush and puts Bob Ross and was like,
He was a real ladies' man when he was alive at the arts conferences. I've heard of guys that were like, all I hear is stories about like, he'd be at the bar after the convention or whatever, and there'd be like 12 middle-aged ladies all over, like, and then he just took his pick.
Open shirt.
You're going with me, like
open shirt, and chipmunk in
a
pocket.
total male slut,
Weird.
Dude, that's awesome. I remember
So soft-spoken.
Check out my happy little tree.